Alright, it's time that I put up this next video about that time that I was in another reality. And it was in my mind to do this, but I had to first upload the other one, the previous one about the panel of judges, because I did want to talk about how. So this is a contrast video. So there's a lot of people calling out Mandela effects out there that nobody's heard of. They're kind of unique. The whole world doesn't seem to see it. So I said, well, maybe there should be a panel of judges. I know that some people make up Mandela effects, or they lie just for whatever reason. They lie. I don't know why. There's evidence that there's a lot of muddying of the waters and things like that. And the whole idea of there being a panel of judges is to just try and protect against deception and keep the truth of the matter as real as possible. That being said, from what I've experienced with this, I've experienced a number of reality shifts and Mandela effects that we call basically anything that's just a change in this reality Mandela effect, basically, or anything that points to its fluidity. But I've had a number back in the beginning, particularly that I can't say that the whole world agrees with me in this timeline, but everything was different. And so you have very few people. Like Walmart is such a big one to me, because Walmart is such a, everybody's familiar with it, everybody's been there. You would think that there would be a ton of videos about that if more people would see the change that I experienced, if more people had been there. I don't know why the numbers are so small, but for me, this is one of the biggest Mandela effects. And this is like very few do I say 100%. There's a lot of them I say 99%. This is rock solid for me. 100%. This thing has changed completely. I was in that reality. And it goes back to, I still very clearly remember the day. I was back when I was first becoming a truther, I suppose, back in 2008 or whatever, and Alex Jones days, and David Icke, and all of them. The the breakdown, Maxwell Jordan's, the breakdown of symbolism used in corporate logos, and all the Saturn references, and the Brotherman references, and just basically the astrological symbols that are just so important to these corporations. And Walmart had, I'm looking at the sign, and Walmart had this like sun. I guess this is the sun, kind of like with petal shapes. That's exactly the way it looked. This has never been in this timeline, in this reality. This has never existed. I need to be clear about that. This logo is something I created, or I just did it on paint, and I just made what it used to be. This came right after that star used to be there. It was Walst, and then a star, and then Mart. This was changed in that reality, and they did that. And this was about 2008 or 9. I'm heavy into my truth or research, and trying to figure out why all these corporations and people love astronomical symbols. I'm looking at it and saying, they switched from the star to the sun. I wonder why. And that's all. I was just making an observation and a note that Walmart changed that star that they had in the center to a sun. I didn't know what it meant. I just made note. I made note of a lot of companies, and I still remember very clearly the Walmart I was at, and the sign I was looking at, and I just made that note. So 8 years later, or 7, I'm in the Mandela effect now. I'm experiencing this stuff in 2016. I'm looking around at reality, coming across just all these things that have changed or are in the process of changing right in front of my eyes. And I look at Walmart, and it's got this crazy looking, design that it is now, the spark. And it's at the end of the Mart. It's not like Walmart is all one word, and there's a spark at the end, which is a little more orangey in color. And it looks more like a computer screen that's loading. When those things spin in the middle, telling you to wait. That's what it looks like. It reminded me like it was a nod to a simulated reality, that this thing has switched to that. But there's no historical reference or timeline to this. And when I uploaded those videos about Walmart having changed, there was a few people that said, yeah, I remember that too. And I found some residual evidence where someone drew it out, just one obscure that, and it was talking about how people's memories are bad. And this guy was writing that he remembered Walmart like this. Well, for me, that's not a vague memory. It's a anchored, rock solid memory. I know what I was doing at that time in the year. I remember exactly where I was. It's just one of those things that anchored itself in because I found it curious that Walmart switched from a star to the sun. But if there was a panel of judges, if there was a Mandela Effect committee that would determine whether or not this is a valid Mandela Effect, they would look at this and say, nah, I don't really see much for residual evidence. I don't see people remembering it this way. Yeah, I'd have to throw this one out if I was a judge on that committee. Yet I know, personally, I was in this reality. I was there. I was in a reality where this existed. And now I'm in this place where people do not have this recollection. And it does feel like you've hopped into one dimension and into another. Well, that bird's just loving it this morning. I don't know if you can hear that bird. But that, to me, it also lends to the idea that it's not just this one fixed reality being edited, but that we bounce into multiple. And the reason I don't subscribe to the idea that there's just two realities, that you bounce from one planet in the galaxy to another, from Orion to Sagittarius, I don't go for that because when things change, they don't change in unison. It's not like there's planet A and planet B, and everything on planet B is consistent with planet B, and then A is consistent with A. When you jump from one place to another, a few odd things will change, but everything else is still, it doesn't go in unison. It's all over the place. There's like 100,000 different combinations or more of different changes. And when I've jumped from different realities, I've noticed that it's just all over the place. It's very scrambled, which suggests an infinite amount. I don't know if infinite is the right word, but a large number of possible versions of reality. Here's another one that I'm absolutely certain about. And I took this clip off of a church that had done a sermon about Mark chapter 4, 1 through 20, the parable and the wheat and the tares. This is, in all of these old videos, got backed up on Odyssey, but this is one that I've talked about a few times, that where I saw Mark chapter 4 change as I was looking at it, and I was led to that. There was some sort of invisible hand leading me to look at this at that particular time, and as I'm looking at it, as if it planned to switch my reality at that moment, it bounced me out of this. I saw that passage in front of my eyes disappear and change. There's no doubt. I was just, blows my mind. So the only what we call residual evidence is this one church that literally posts this Mark 1 through 20, Mark 4, 1 through 20, the parable and the wheat and the tares. That it's only in Matthew 13. The wheat and the tares parable is only in chapter 13. So it makes no sense for them to post this on their website or have this past sermon. It makes and I know it was there. I know it used to be in Mark because I saw it. Now, as far as the Mandela Effect Committee, they'd have to toss it out because there's nobody with me on this. There's not this consensus of other people saying, yeah, I saw what you saw, guy. I was just there. It was a different reality, and one that I noticed, but I'm pretty alone in that. Thankfully, the internet allows us to share our experiences amongst a broad, large number of people around the globe. We're able to share, and so when we do see something that we saw just change and other people see that same thing, we can say, yeah, I see it too, and there's this kind of like unison voice saying, you're right. But when it comes to these oddballs, for whatever reason, I don't have a whole lot of people in support saying, I remember that too. That doesn't mean it's not valid to me. I know it changed. There's just no proving that to anybody else. And doesn't even matter if I prove it. I guess not. And then there's others that suggest to me that we've bounced into that we individually can bounce into different timelines. And we see this in flip-flops where people have experienced the same flip-flop, but they had experienced it at different times in their life, in their timeline. When they experienced it is a different time. I remember this with movies back in 2016, 2017. There was all these movies coming out, and a lot of people reported having this experience too. We'd say, wait a minute, that came out a year ago. I've already seen this movie. How is it coming out now? It was stuff like that. It was like a movie just being released. And it's like, no. How is that thing just being released? I've already seen this movie. And then with the Flintstones flip-flop, a whole lot of us saw Flintstones flip-flop back in 2017, 2016. But there's other people who saw it flip-flop in 2018. It's just their timeline didn't match up, which is interesting. And once again, I think it supports the idea that there are multiple timelines. It just feels that way when you see that. Another thing I should say too is, here's the irky part about it, is when you go to a different timeline, are they different people now? I mean, are the people that are around me, friends and family and everybody I work with, if I bounce from one timeline to the other, and I might be bouncing right now and I'm just not even, God knows how many times we bounce. We could be bouncing constantly. We could be shifting. There's this idea that our beliefs about what our beliefs and intentions are constantly shifting our soul or whatever. It's shifting it into the reality that matches that alignment, that vibration, that tuning. Our soul is always tuning itself for the reality that matches it the best, and that there's so many possible combinations. It's an infinite number of combinations. You just bounce, and you don't even know it. You're not even aware you're bouncing. You're just bouncing constantly, and you bounce into this reality that resonates with your soul a little closer, and you're just there. And in that form is how things manifest. I mean, your reality becomes more in tune with who you are, and you're constantly moving. That's an idea, I have to say, from my experience. The weirdest thing is, I feel like there's some truth to that bouncing around to multiple realities, and I don't know what the driver is, but that's one explanation for what's driving it, is that you are lining up with that place that is more attuned to you. Whatever. All I know is I've experienced firsthand hardcore shifts in reality where I'm here, I'm talking to people around me, there's this version of reality exists, and then for whatever reason, boom, I'm in the other one. All right, I had to pause real quick because my house is waking up, but just to give another example on this is, so you're in a reality, you're talking to everybody you're in this Mandela Effect community now, or I am, just going back in time. I'm in this Mandela Effect community. I'm talking about my changes, my shifting. We're all talking about our changes or shifting, the things we're observing. I see things like, the flip-flops are a big one, but Hillary Clinton, right? Lots of people talking about Hillary Clinton at the time. This is election campaign time. She's on the news all the time. Trump and her are going at it. We're talking about how her name is supposed to have two L's. Very clearly talking about how it should have two L's. My position on it was I just don't remember. I just didn't have one memory one way or the other. I remember saying to people, I don't know. I don't know if this is different or not, because I don't remember her name specifically being spelled with two L's. I mean, currently at the time, it was spelled like Hillary Swank or Hillary Duff. They both had their names spelled with one L. And as far as I knew, Hillary Clinton liked her name spelled the same way. And that's where I left it. But I was part of the conversations. I saw them come up frequently, only because she was in the news constantly, and this whole election thing was bringing her to the forefront. So lots of people were discussing it. Lots of people had, videos, and there's commentary, and there's Reddits. Lots of people. This was a pretty big Mandela effect. The day it switched for me on election day, I switched. Now I'm in a reality suddenly on election day where she's got two L's in her name. It just shifted. The most fascinating thing to me is that the comments, the commentary online, all of that stuff just disappeared. It was gone. There was nothing, absolutely nothing. Where did these people go? Where did all these people go that I had been interacting with online and discussing these different Mandela effects, and around this one, which was somewhat large, disappeared? What happened to those people? Did I just shift into a reality where we have different people in this new reality? They're all different here, and there's just no conversation about this? I take it, I have to admit there was one guy, because I was searching, I was looking for my people. I was looking for that group that all recognized that her name just changed. It was huge. It was major. There's no 99% here. It's 100% this is how it occurred, and I was in that reality, which we have the 1L. So I'm looking for my people. They're not there. I found one lone voice on Reddit saying, did anybody else just notice Hillary Clinton's name just changed? And then he said exactly what I observed. And I was like, God, there's one person out there. One person. Now, later on, over the next few weeks or months, as I'm talking about it and uploading videos, there was more people saying, yes, I saw that too. They would come forward. Now, whether or not they truly were with me that whole time when I switched, or if they popped in later, I don't know. I don't know how this works completely. But I do know that there's evidence that there's multiple realities based on these type of changes. Now, the other one that makes you think it's just one reality that's getting edited is when these things change in real time. It's the gotcha moments where I'm like in a wrestling match against reality, and I'm looking up residual, and I find the one that's super strong, like so authoritative. I say to myself, there's no way reality is going to be able to beat me on this one. There's no way it's going to be able to deny that it's changing. I'm going to show this. And as I'm in that mode and I'm thinking I got one, it changes while I'm looking at it. That's the craziest thing. It's like an edit to this reality. Or maybe I am shifted more fully into the reality that vibrates with. I don't know. I remember asking God once, what is it? Is it multiple realities, or is it this one getting edited? And the voice in my head kind of said it's kind of both. I don't know how that could be. I don't know how that works. I don't understand it. But there you have it. What is it? I don't know. But I do know that there's times that I've experienced hardcore Mandela effects where the world was more, it was just different. There was more people talking about it, and then I shift and they were all gone. And what happened to all those people? Flintstones was kind of like that for me, because there was a whole lot more discussion about it, and then when it switched, there was a lot less. It just reduced. There was still quite a number, and there were people experiencing that at different times. Flintstone was, for some reason, one of the biggest flip-flops. A lot of people, I don't know why. I don't understand the connection or why, but that was a huge one. And then cornflakes being spelled with a K. That, of course, far more numbers involved with that. More people knew Kellogg's cornflakes would spell corn, Korn. Makes total sense, because Kellogg's is trying to, market the name Kellogg's. You're trying to differentiate yourself from other brands that sell cornflakes, like Post Cornflakes or anybody else. You want to say, no, this is Kellogg's cornflakes. You know it's Kellogg's because it's spelled Korn. And no, my memory of that has nothing to do with that rock band and that spoof box. Nothing. It's funny, though, that with Mandela effects and switching different realities, there's often something like that. And I almost sense like there's another reality that's nearby. And that nearby reality has to bleed through or imprint itself on the nearby realities in some way. And I think that's a lot of why we have these things that come up as kind of coincidental. Like this is like the rock group Korn and doing a cover of Cornflakes. I think that the connection and the vibration is so close to that other reality. It's just natural that a manifestation of some sorts would occur here. And that might be accounting for a lot of residual as well, that there's that close connection to that other reality. That could be why dual memories exist. That could be why people, just in general, remember things the old way, is they're still very attached to that other version of reality as well. But when cornflakes switched back to the sea, I felt very alone because of the conversations. They just disappeared. Jacob Israel had done a video and specifically used the cornflakes box as an example, but at the time he did it, it was spelled Korn. So when it switched, and this is how I kind of first came across that, I was like, oh, I didn't even know. When Jacob Israel first brought it up, I didn't remember if cornflakes had been spelled with a C. I didn't have that recollection. All I knew is that he was making a point that it's supposed to. I couldn't say that I agreed with him because I was like, I think the K makes more sense. Remember, this is the dialogue I'm having in my mind with Jacob Israel. I'm thinking K makes more sense. They're trying to emphasize Kellogg's K makes more sense. And I even remembered the there was this like picture uploaded, somebody saying Kellogg's is racist, and they circled the three K's in the Kellogg's Corn Flakes, with the Flakes had a K and then Kellogg's and corn. They circled them with a red marker, big circle around the K's. They are racist. there's just so much here that I knew this had changed. Yet when I bounced from that reality into this reality where it's spelled with a C, and I've been here in this, version ever since. It's always been with a C, although other things change around it, which again lends to just tons of different versions of reality. But when I changed the voices, the conversations, Jacob Israel's video changed itself, which begs, is Jacob Israel the same Jacob Israel? Is he the same person? Is it? I don't know. I don't know what that means fully. It's hard to get your mind around that one. But he definitely is doing a very similar video than he did before, but it's changed just enough. It's changed to where he's talking about a few different things. All right, I had to pause. I keep getting interrupted because people are waking up. But back to Jacob Israel, he changes the video. Or he didn't change it, but I'm in a different reality where the video is different than it was before. Now the video does not mention cornflakes as a Mandela effect at all. And at the end of his video, he's talking more about Bible changes. And the first reality I was in, he made no mention of Bible changes. So these variations happen. Is it a different Jacob Israel? Is it a different soul? Is it? That's the natural question. Another reality change that I experienced that no one has ever said they saw it with me. I'm 100% sure this happened. It would get voted down against if there was a panel of judges to say whether or not this happened. But it was in October of 2016. I am just blown away by the change of the world. The Thinker was big on my mind. I'm thinking about the Thinker because that statue has definitely changed, completely changed. But I went in this one morning, and the Thinker was doing a pose just that one day. For one day, I was in a reality where the Thinker was doing a completely different pose than anybody has described or seen or mentioned in this ever since. I was there for one day, and after that day, it changed. I did the pose. I remember at the kitchen table sitting with my wife, showing her the picture of the Thinker. Now, trust me, I can't get that recollection out of her now. Is she the same person? I don't know. But she's sitting right next to me. I'm saying, look at this stupid pose. This makes no sense. The Thinker literally had his hand under his chin, palm up. His palm was cupping his chin, and the fingers, his four fingers, were like lightly brushed against his lower lip. That was the pose. Made no sense. I was like, where the hell did this pose come from and why? It was so completely different. For one day, I was there. Absolutely 100%. There's no wishy-washy 99% here. 100% this occurred exactly like that. I remember it as vividly as yesterday. This was hardcore. Wow, this changed. I did put it out there. Nobody had any response or memory of that pose or anything. But for one day, maybe not even a full day, but at least that morning before work, I was in that reality where the Thinker was posed in a completely different way. Nobody seemed to be there with me, and then I bounced out of it. It was just in and out like a flash. So I guess the point of this video is to talk about a few different things. One, the whole panel of judges idea does not necessarily identify, or it would throw out a lot of very true experiences. In my personal experience, it would throw out a lot of very true changes in Mandela effects. Number two, the question is, are these people, when I bounce from one reality, are they different now? Are they different versions of themselves? Are they even, then go back to solipsism, are they even real to begin with? Or is all of this just a manifestation of myself? You start to wonder when you start going through things like that, and then the people change when you bounce into different realities. There's that. and what it all means. The other big question is what drives the shift. I definitely feel like I was being navigated by a higher force and a hidden hand. Some kind of spiritual entity was definitely in conjunction making me see these things. And I assumed God was taking me from one place to another, but since the world has come somewhat static for me, it's not as visibly changing in years. Have I fallen out of grace, or is this just I'm done with that experience? I know what I know and I don't need to know anymore. I don't know the reason I was bounced around so directly back then, and I could feel the presence of being guided to see it without a doubt. And I, if you know the story, I even asked God to show me something about reality. Show me what you want me to know. Boom. Boom. It happened. Huge. But is it still going on today and I'm just not as attuned to it? And is what drives it is the connection that we're in many different versions of reality, and our spirit just lines up with the one that echoes the most true to it? Are we constantly going to that place that is more in line with who we are? Or is that rubbish? Is that complete bunk? Is there another reason then? What other theories are there? I think I've taken time to explore every theory that there is out there since this all started. I've listened to everything. One of the most disturbing ones to me is this notion that I'm being tricked and trapped, that this whole place is definitely an illusion, and it is constructed as a trap. It lures me in, it entices me with many beautiful and wonderful things like a drug. It entices the person in because there's a lot of beauty and wonder and there's a lot of positive things about this place. But at the same time, is it a trap to keep us here and to get this energy called loosh, which is all the negative energy, the hardship, the crisis, the fear, the anguish, the suffering, the pain? Are these entities drawing off of that and finding energy from which they live? Is it like a demonic force or some sort of force that needs that to survive? And then am I stuck here in this trap that I can't seem to get out? I don't like that theory. Period. I don't like it. I recently heard somebody say that that's what it is, and she knows. I mean, everybody knows. At least it just amazes me how people come forward with their absolute knowing of things. I wish I had that absolute knowing of all these things. I only know one thing. I only know that reality is fluid. I've experienced that so hardcore. I have no question. I know that. I can go before any group of people and say, this has absolutely happened, no doubt in my mind. I don't have anything else like that. I can't tell you I know that this reality is a trap, or I know that it's not a trap. I don't know. But this one person was saying it's a trap, and we can actually get to a point where we bypass the astral realm, which is where you go into the light, you talk to former relatives or Jesus or whomever, because they say all of that is a deception. It's a shape-shifting archon whose goal is to navigate you around and get you back into the earth realm, into this plane. So she's saying you can bypass that. You can bounce into the dimension where there's like just the void, nothingness. There's nothingness but one other conscious, and that other consciousness, that one other consciousness, which is the only thing that's there, is actually you. You actually, the two join. You come together as one again. And that all of this idea of separate consciousnesses around all over, it just is an illusion or a path back to that one, and you just rejoin. And then I guess your personality just gets absorbed. I don't know. We just didn't get into all that. And I don't know if I believe her. And based on what, her methods of knowing this, I don't know. I mean, she could be deceived. For all I know, she could have some demon filling her head with this stuff. How does she know that she's not getting deceived? I don't know. But apparently she knows. And I know that reality changes. Now, you could say, how do I know that I'm not getting deceived? Like I just told you, I bounced from these different realities. These are the observations I've made. Something's going on there. So I guess I'll wrap that up. I just wanted to, I had planned to make this video, and I did want to upload the panel of judges video before this video, because that was Like one of my points is that there's some Mandela effects that are just so unique, that are so different, so odd, and nobody else seems to share it with you. And these would all get lost with a panel of judges, and yet that individual knows it because it's a personal change in their reality that they've experienced without a doubt, and they know what happened. And then there's all these other Mandela effects that are we call them Mandela effects, but they're personal reality changes. It could be something as simple as objects bouncing out and then popping back into your reality. That could be considered a Mandela effect in a way. We use the Mandela effect because the term is so popular, but really we're just talking about fluid reality. If that would become popular, that would be great. We just say reality is fluid and things can change around you. Anything at any moment can change around you. It's fluid. It's not. It's an illusion in some ways, of some sorts, but Mandela effect is commonly what everybody recognizes, and it's the same force, the same essence, the same thing that's going on there for reality to change. All of these other anomalies, all these crazy things that happen that should not happen based on what we believe physics to be, all these things happening so bizarrely. This is the fluid reality we live in. But it would be great if people would just drop Mandela effect term and label all together and just start calling it the fluid reality, evidence of the fluid reality. Anyway, I'm working on another quick video too after this one. Let's see when I can upload that. There's not a lot of high quality visuals or content with this. It's just me rambling, but I appreciate everybody listening. Have a great day in the version of reality you are in, and God bless.